Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast. Thrilled to welcome acclaimed YA author Mitali Perkins, talking about her brand new feature film adaptation, Rickshaw Girl. Mitali, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you for joining us. Talk to us first. I mean, you have been right. I mean, your biography is extensive. You've been writing for many years. Give everyone just a quick bio on how many books you've written. You know, your profile, and let everyone kind of know the extensive library that you have behind you.
Well, that's the nicest way I've ever heard anyone say, "You're old, honey." Your library is extensive. I'm like,
I'm gonna actually use that outside of this interview. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty good.
yeah, yeah. Um, well, yeah, I've been writing forever. I think I'd started doing it for fun as a hobby on the side, and my first book was published a long, long time ago. Uh, it won a contest, and I thought, oh, this will be a great hobby. I could do a little bit of like side hustle here. And then my second book novel was rejected by 23 different publishers, revised significantly, and eventually found a publishing home and was released 12 years after my first novel,
Wow.
which means looking back, I think I don't know how I did that, just kept going. But when that second novel came out, I thought, I'm going to put my stake in the ground.
Mhm.
If I cared about this much, I think I'm going to try to be all in. So I quit all my side gigs and said I'm going to be a writer. And my 20th novel is coming out this year. So I'm glad I didn't give up. Yes, I have an extensive time, right, and good hair dye too.
Well, that's part about being a writer, right? I mean, Hassan and I are both. Hassan's a writer in both novels and graphic novels. I
Oh,
focus more on
wonderful.
graphic novels and screenplays.
All
It's
right.
not, it's fun, but it can also be very, very um, stressful.
Also, however many novels you have doesn't correlate how many years you've been at it. So
True.
you could be a very fast writer.
Right.
So
We're all child prodigies with our first.
yes, yeah. We've been doing it since we were 12.
Yes.
So
Right,
Yeah.
right.
See, I have been writing since I was 9. I have poems and stories and little things I wrote in little diaries. And in fact, the novel that's coming out this year, I got to put the stories and poems that I wrote when I was 9, 10, 11 into this new novel. So because she's a writer, the child
Oh,
is a
awesome.
writer. So yeah, so I have been writing since I am a child prodigy.
Take me back. You said something that I thought was really super fascinating, which is that you got a rejection letter on your second book. Take me through the feeling of getting that. What went through your head, and how did you use that as inspiration to keep going?
Yeah, I think it was a rejection letter with suggestions for revision. So there was enough to keep the creative spark going. When I talk about 23 rejections, I'm talking about rejections that came with editorial letters
Okay.
that were actually suggestions. So there were people who were invested in the story, but it just wasn't quite there for them. I'm not sure why. Looking back, the markets were kind of closed back then to stories from outside the mainstream. My stories are all features marginalized characters. They have justice themes, and back then, that wasn't quite the hot topic it is now. So I'm not sure. I mean, I could have just said, "Oh, well, the doors are closed. It's not for me."
Yeah.
But I really did care about the work. I cared about the story. I cared about my character, and it was fun. I found that I found a lot of joy still in revising. I still do. I'm terrible at first drafts. I don't know about you guys, but they're just the worst. They're just like the pits. You get through them and you think, ah, finally, now I can get to work because, I have the narrative arc. I have um, when
All the
I've,
pieces,
yeah, all the pieces, all the scenes are sort of there and I can do it now. I can get to work
yeah,
now. So,
like
so
a
I,
film editor.
right, right. So revising is good. I like it. The
Yeah.
first drafting, not so good. So I think that was more of the joy of the book itself that kept me going. I really liked it. I still like it. It's nobody reads it anymore, but I still like that book.
I laugh actually. You say that because I was talking to another writer friend of mine, and I actually have the opposite reaction sometimes to my first draft. I feel like this is the greatest thing ever, but meanwhile, I also know that it's only going to get better, having more, creative input from other people. However, like editors and things like that. But I really do. Write things and go, this is great, and then I always get like the first reaction back, and they're like, they send notes. It's always like they don't know what they're talking about. And then like after that initial reaction goes, I'm like, all right, they're right.
Oh, see, I need a little bit of your ego there, Michael. I'm not gonna, I always feel like this sucks. This is the worst thing ever. No one's ever going to read it. So I guess we reverberate back and forth as creatives, right? Between that, wow, this
Yes.
work is wonderful, to no way, nobody receiving this work will resonate with it. And then somewhere we have to find that calibration to just keep writing, to keep going,
Yeah.
and changing, and being humble enough to change every word, right?
So now you managed to, in the course of your writing career, and it's great. You said you went all in theoretically, after the 12-year gap.
Yeah.
But it's amazing because what you've also managed to do is have a blog that has like 1.2 million views. You have 520,000 visitors, worldwide on your social media monthly. How did you build up your following? Was it through the help of your publisher, or was it on your own? Like, a lot of young writers really want to know this question because they're trying to get their stuff out there. How did you approach this?
I have a lot of first cousins. I'm from a big Indian family, and all my cousins got to work. They're my publicity team. No, actually, I would say that whole question of platform, I know it's hard now to break in without that platform. And I think it's all about voice, really. I do feel like people will always try to trope you, and I use that as a verb, even though it's a noun. They'll try to put you in a box that fits in their perspective. And what you can do on social media now, if you love words the way I do, is that you can sort of explode the tropes, and you can showcase your voice. I mean, before this conversation, I'm sure you guys probably thought, who the heck is this person? Is she gonna, what's she gonna be like? But I can be hopefully funny, and I can be on social media. I can be, offer fresh things with my voice that people don't expect. They think, oh, multicultural writer from India. It's important. She's got important work. But if I make a joke or say something that resonates with them through a different lens, that will open up my connection to them. And so I found social media a really great way to connect with all kinds of people. I've been doing it a lot. I like that too. I have fun I use Twitter, even though Twitter now is such a different place. I use Twitter as a word craft exercise. I don't use any emojis or abbreviations. I just use words, verbs, and nouns, and I try to say what I want to say in my voice. It's a very disciplined structure because you only have that many characters. And I've always used Twitter like that. So I'm a creator on social media, as I am in my life, creative. I try to be, not just a consumer, although I have to admit that since Reels came out and all that TikTok stuff, it has been much harder to avoid that, because there's so much creativity on TikTok, and you can just see these young, fresh minds coming out with
Yeah.
creativity in that small container that a TikTok video provides, and this huge burst of creativity. It's fascinating, mesmerizing. So that is something I'm enjoying as a recipient of social
Yeah.
media. But on the whole, I just like to create and have fun out there.
I think about that too. I mean, Hassan and I are both of Generation 2, where we had a rotary phone and an iPhone, and we knew how to use both really well. And it's amazing to me to think, like, if I was in my teenage years, how I would use. I mean, the idea of actually making a movie, right? I remember we made like a class film, and that was like, it was crappy, and we had our little, the camera that stood on your shoulders, things like that. I mean, now you have full movie making capability in your palm of your hand right now. Like,
I know. I just got my iPhone 14, and I'm like totally amazed at how I can, the movie making capacity of this machine. It's incredible. Yeah.
and
Which
even
makes
both.
it really that I'm sorry, go
Oh
ahead.
no, go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
I said that makes it really fun because a film like Rickshaw Girl, which was made fully in Bangladesh, does not have a huge Hollywood budget,
Mm-hmm.
but was made by very talented artists who reside fully in Bangladesh. The screenplay, the cinematography, the directing, the acting,
Mm-hmm.
and it is an age where that whole filmmaking genre has become very democratic, in that anyone, anywhere can, especially with streaming, because Rickshaw Girl is now available on streaming, you can make your art available in a way with film for people to connect with you all over the world without having to go through that narrow,
Yeah.
strict, expensive Hollywood conduit that used to keep everyone out except for people with connections and
Sure.
nepotism. And now, now people like Navera Rahman, who stars in Rickshaw Girl and did an amazing job acting this fierce character who really wants to help her family. You cheer for her through the whole movie. I can be proud of the movie because I had no creative input into the movie at all. So I'm just so proud of what they came up with uh, as a story on screen, all the way in Bangladesh against the odds of monsoon rains and all that overpopulation density with people making noise all the time. They created a whole set. They used and it's a beautiful film, and it's now being seen all over the world. So that's what these machines have helped us, and this generation of tech savvy creators have helped really flatten that access or widen the access to stories, which is great. I'm all for that.
Yes, talk to us about Rickshaw Girl. It was a great segue. We're a big fan of segues on this show, so it's an amazing segue. It's on demand.
That's my middle name. I've been doing all these interviews, so I'm like Mitali Segway Perkins.
Love it though. Absolutely love it. What was the feeling? How did this materialize first? Take us back to how the adaptation process began, the option process, all the way up to the point where you just said like you're a fan watching a movie based on something you created.
Yeah. Well, this book, Rickshaw Girl, was also rejected many, many times. And my second book had come out, and I got to go to a library convention to sign. I don't know if either of you have done these signings where you show up with all these authors. Well, I was assigned a table.
Conventions, comic book conventions, yes.
Yeah, book conventions, comic book conventions, right? So they have similar library conventions where people come up to get your autograph. I was sitting between these really like cool millennial authors, both guys, both kind of, had that handsome vibe that librarians love. And there were these long lines for each of them. And at my table, which was in between theirs, there was nobody, not a single person. So I had my second book, and I thought it was a mortifying moment. But I think until you've survived several of those mortifying moments, I don't think you really earn your stripes as a career writer. Because what happened is I had a choice then. I could say, this is terrible.
Yeah.
I'm like full of shame. I want to get out of here. Or I had another choice, which I chose, is I pulled my manuscript out. It was a hard copy, and I just said, I'm going to work on it. And it was Rickshaw Girl. So I just started working on Rickshaw Girl, and then I looked up after a while, and there was a woman standing in front of me, and I don't know, she just appeared, and she said, hey, I read Monsoon Summer and I liked it. What are you working on right there? And I told her it's about a story of a girl set in Bangladesh. She wants to help her family. Girls can't work outside of the home and make money. She's desperate to try to help. She's an artist, and she loves, how is her art going to help her family economically? And so the woman's face lit up. She said, oh, okay, well, I work at Charles Bridge Publishing. That sounds great. Send it to me. It was a small publishing house in Boston. And I sent it to her, and it got published. But it didn't sell. It just didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't sell. So, I have a little rickshaw here, if you could see it. And I just think of this novel, the story pedaling along because it got translated into several Asian languages. And I think because it's a story of honor and duty, it's successful in Japan, successful in China, successful in Taiwan, successful in Korea, and then eventually came back here years and years later and became a stage play. My mom and I go to the theater, and in one part of the story that she crashes her dad's rickshaw. My mom and I are in the theater, and this happens on the stage, and we both gasp, and we say, oh, what's going to happen now? And then my mom looks at me and says, you wrote the book. You wrote the book. I forgot that I wrote the story. And then I'm at a writer's conference that I teach at every year in Big Sur, California, which close to where I live, one of the most beautiful places on the planet. And I go there every year. It's my literary agency hosts this conference. And another faculty member came up to me and said, my wife loved this story. We love the film industry in Bangladesh. I'd really like to try to make it into a movie. We have zero money. We don't know if we can raise the money. Can you sign the option just complimentarily or like $1? And I said, oh, sure. Yeah, there was no way this book was going to be made into a movie. No way. A book fully set in Bangladesh with no American characters, no bridge characters, nothing. A children's story. There was just no way it was going to be turned into a movie.
Sure.
So Eric and Kathleen Adams went over to Bangladesh, found a brilliant director, Amitav Reza Chaudhry. They found incredible cinematographers, artists, actors, and they managed to raise the money to make this movie. And now it is streaming on Apple TV and Amazon Prime. And I got to go to the premiere. My husband hired a limo.
That's great.
It was like a small film festival. And I thought, what are you hiring a limo for? Let's just go in our car. So we could, he's like,
No, you got to do it right.
no,
He had the right
yeah,
Yeah, you
idea.
gotta
I
have
support
that
your
moment.
husband.
get your stiletto heels on, honey. This is the moment. And red lipstick, stiletto heels, and I was like, there's not going to be any. So I got out of the limo, and there were all this media there because Bangladeshis showed up. They were so proud of this movie. This was the first movie that had been exported. India has a lot of movies, but not Bangladesh. And they were like snapping pictures and doing
Wow.
interviews. And I thought, well, this is a moment. It was a moment. I mean, it's a moment in a career that is usually just get to the computer and push through the next rejection. So
Right.
it was worth stiletto heels for sure.
What role you mentioned literary agency and a publisher. How many different publishers have you had, and how many different agents? And for young writers out there, how important is it to land either one of these in the current situation that we have today, in your opinion? And the current situation being Amazon, you could just self-publish. You can put your stuff on TikTok and social media and Instagram, and so I'm curious.
So
I'm
you're
curious your
saying
thoughts on.
traditional publishing versus
Yeah,
self-publishing.
yeah,
Yeah. I think that it depends on your entrepreneurial spirit, your ability to take risk, your ability to invest in yourself. I'm not one. I'm pretty, I don't know, I'm a pretty traditional person.
mm-hmm.
And so for me, that model really worked well because I have this literary agency who goes to bat for me. I'm from an immigrant family. So first of all, I'm cheap. And second of all, I don't really push. Like if somebody said to me, we came here to New York City when I was 7 years old and I outgrew shoes and my mom would cut slits in the front of the shoes so I could wear them I mean, we're not from this big
Yeah.
publishing connected family. We're like fresh off the boat. And so when I first started negotiating, someone said, hey, we want to buy this book. I was like, really? Oh, I was a terrible negotiator. I can negotiate for bananas in a market. When it came to American people wanting to buy my book, I thought, I'll pay you. Oh gosh. So it depends on, I think if you have excuse the language, but cojones to fight for yourself, to invest in yourself, to sort of hold yourself up high, your head up high and say, I'm a writer, and you have connections and you have the wherewithal to have the platform. You got to weigh that all into your own decision, because a literary agent will go to bat for you. And she was just, I've had her for 20 some years. She's
That's
just
fantastic.
my only agent from start to finish, and we've been a team. We grew up together in the industry, and and I have a booking agent for my speaking gigs. So I feel like and that's why I'm a full-time. I can do this full-time, and because they help me earn the money I need. So I need a team.
Yeah.
But if you're a more entrepreneurial risk taker who has time ahead, money and energy, and have that sort of like as my yoga teacher says, shoulders down, crown up,
Yeah.
kind of feel about yourself, I think self-publishing is a great way to go, as I said, or taking some risks, trying both. Because it's a really time when stories can reach audiences and you don't have to go through the people with the power as much.
Yeah, gatekeepers. Right.
Yes, yeah.
So you have 2 new books coming out this year, Hope in the Valley and Holy Night and Little Star. Would you like to tell everyone about that?
Yeah, well, I write for kids, which makes me, powerful, because stories for kids really shape the future and the hearts and minds of future leaders. So I love writing for kids. I've written for adults as well, but adults are overrated. Boo. Much rather spend time with kids. So Hope in the Valley is a middle grade novel. And as I said, I write a lot about justice themes. So this one explores affordable housing in California. Yay, Mitali, write about bunny rabbits, the direct kids, but no, I want to write about microcredit in Bangladesh and girl power. I want to write about affordable housing and the lack of that we have in California. And I want to write about a girl who is 12 years old and loves writing poetry and doesn't want to grow up, because that was me. Growing up was so scary as a young woman, as a third daughter in a culture of origin that didn't value women. And also in this culture, it just felt like, this hypersexualized culture we live in. I just thought, I want to stay a kid. I do not want to grow up. And so this little girl's got that same issue. That it's all about change and how the past, how we handle the present, if we integrate the past, can really shape the future. Same with housing, same with this little girl's life. So that's coming out, Hope in the Valley, in July from Macmillan. I'm excited about that because I like to be personal in my writing. I like to be political in my writing. And I think kids go there with me, which is always a surprise to adults. And then A Holy Night, Little Star is a Christmas story about with a little brown baby Jesus in it. So about a little star who, it's a picture book because the Christmas story, I always felt like an outsider to it, but no longer. Now I feel very much at home in it, and I wanted to bring my own voice to the retelling of the Christmas story.
Okay, very last question, very important. Will you be able to watch the Super Bowl now that your beloved Niners have been knocked out?
Oh, why are you bringing? Why are you bringing?
I'm a
up
Jets fan. We wallow in misery.
Oh no, we're all heartbroken. You get that? Heartbroken. That was a terrible game, terrible to watch. But yeah, I'm excited about. Actually, someone just posted. I'm excited to watch the Rihanna concert with the Eagles and the Chiefs sideline.
The pre and post concert show, which is the
and
football.
The commercials. I mean, I don't like watching with people because each of the commercials is master storytelling. I love leaning into that great creativity of Super Bowl commercials. I am a big fan of them, and I love seeing which ones really succeed as a story. So I'm looking forward to it on Sunday. Yeah. So yeah, sorry. So we're all grieving here in the dark.
I have a good friend who is a big 49ers fan, and I was pulling for them over the Eagles, and I just said, boy, what a the luck with the quarterbacks. I think just as bad as the Jets. Just as bad as the Jets.
We won't talk about the refs that day because I think if you mention the refs that day, everyone around here gets all agitated. So we won't talk about that. And then Tom Brady's retiring finally.
That's right.
I think, yeah. I lived in Boston for 13 years, so I still have that Tom Brady, an eye on Tom Brady from the West Coast. But we'll see.
He's retiring, but don't be surprised if he pops up. He was a 49ers fan as a kid. So
I think if he retires, he and Giselle get back together. I'm rooting for that.
I am too. All right, Mitali, tell everyone where they can find you online, and tell everyone about Rickshaw Girl where they can view that.
Yeah, rickshawgirlmovie.com. It has all the information on streaming, Apple TV, Amazon Prime, and if you're a library fan like me, Canopy and Hoopla also have the story. I think Voodoo has it too. And then me, I'm the only Mitali Perkins in the world. That combination of names does not exist. So just Google me, misspell the Mitali part, misspell the Perkins part, and I'll pop up.
You'll still get it.
You'll still get it. I'm all over Twitter. I like Twitter. I like Instagram. I like Facebook. I lurk on TikTok, so you can't find me there. I don't generate anything. But come and find me and let me know what you think about the movie. Read the book, see what's different. I love to talk about it, and I always answer messages and comments from people online. So come and find me.
Mitali, thank you so much. Mitali Perkins, go check out Rickshaw Girl and check out her new books as well. When we come back, more Rogue Wave podcast.
Thanks so much.
Hi guys, Mike Dolce here from the Rogue Wave podcast. If you like this video, please feel free to like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. It really helps us out. Leave a comment, let us know what you'd like to see in future episodes, and tune in every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern for a brand new episode of the Rogue Wave podcast.